Hello? Hello? We have sound.
That's my computer. That's my computer.
So I'm giving Josh.
What's the link to post in the old chat?
The new link?
Yeah.
The YouTube page that just popped up. If you were a subscriber to the Mouths of the South podcast, you'd get that automatically sent to your phone, to your desktop. Apologies.
So are we working,
everybody? Now? I think we're working now.
Straight.
Hold on. Give us 2 seconds. Let me send this new link out to
those who are
the people.
Jimmy, what's up, man?
Yeah, talk to the people.
As soon as you said that, I clam up. That's like the death knell.
Yeah, what I was like, what are we gonna talk about?
Talk to the people.
Talk to the people.
Sprawl B, hello. Brooke H. Nice to see you. Chris B. Mm-hmm.
Delete post. Deleted.
I like this camera angle because I can see what Josh is looking at on the computer.
Creepy creepster.
I like this camera angle because I can see what.
Turn off your sound.
This.
It's your sound. It's
yeah, but the sound is never on these usually.
What is today?
Someone's been messing with my computer once a week.
All right, ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Apologies. I think we're good. And here we go. What's up, Atlanta? This is the Mouths of the South podcast brought to you by... I'm sorry. What's up, Atlanta? This is the Mouths of the South podcast brought to you by Dirty South Soccer in the palatial 680 The Fan Studios, where we have donned this place, the MLS Cup Champions Lair. That's what I'm going to call it for today. Josh Bagriansky in front of me. Joe Patrick to my left, managing editor of Dirty South Soccer, your SB Nation station for all things related to Atlanta United. It's going to be, make sure you're following Dirty South Soccer because it's going to be an epic offseason. Coaching change, player acquisitions, all sorts of drafts that we got to keep up with. So make sure you're following Dirty South Soccer. Gentlemen, do you feel like champions today? Do you feel like you've accomplished something? Do you feel like as a team and as a fan base, we are collectively champions?
Yeah.
We did it. We saved the crew and we won the
We saved the crew
same year.
That's true.
And we
did soccer.
We didn't have to give anything to Portland for Nagby after winning MLS Cup.
No bonus stuff. Hilarious, by the way. Did you guys actually look up the incentives that were in the deal? They're wildly ambitious. It's like people were afraid that Atlanta was going to have to give up some money to Portland on the back end for the Nagby deal. And then one of the deal was if Atlanta won MLS Cup and he finished top 3 in the league in points, not Atlanta, Darlington Nagby finished top 3 in the leagues in points, goals and assists basically combined, then they would send some TAM over to him. And that was never going to happen, obviously.
I was thinking he maybe
did he have on goal?
Maybe would have had one goal had it not been for Joseph Martinez being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of that, a couple of assists, I'm sure. He wanted a goal against Portland.
Yeah, he did.
First 20 minutes or so, he was looking for one.
I mean, it would have been the storybook thing. I was kind of disappointed he didn't. It would have been too perfect, I guess.
It was funny. Do you get the sense that he's mad or there's any animosity between him and Portland? Because Ariel from, now Manchester City on Twitter, it seemed like she took it the wrong way, or I don't know. Like she made it seem like there was some kind of beef between. I think it was directed towards me. But
was it a pregame quote?
It was during the middle. It was after the second time that Nagby was close at attempting something at goal. Yeah. And for whatever reason, I guess I didn't think there was any animosity or anything like that. I think that Nagby.
I'd imagine not. I mean, I think that deal worked out good for both sides.
Yeah.
I talked to Nagby and his Portland teammates, and there didn't seem to be any kind of animosity between them. He's incredibly tough to read. Like, he has a great poker face. First of all, very to Nagby. Yeah. In fact, he's like kind of boring to talk to be honest, because he's so good at it. That's what you want. Deflecting.
You don't want guys like Joe getting any good quotes out of you. If you're a fan, you don't want it that. So,
but yeah, he said that Aldous Powell was his little brother. All right. I don't know. He seemed to have nothing but nice. And I thought at least the Portland guys would be trying to antagonize him.
Yeah,
and they were the same. Yeah. Like, I think there was just good vibes all around.
There's a respect there. Joe, you mentioned you said it would have been too perfect if Nagby scored, but that night was already too perfect. And the last 2 years have been too perfect. I mean, Joe and I kind of talked about this before we went on. It's just incredible. I mean, obviously it feels amazing to win, but there's this kind of surrealness to it because
it still hasn't.
It's been such a perfect 2 years. I mean, they haven't missed on hardly anything. And I mean, your biggest miss is Chris McCann, who played a big role for you this season.
Right now, sort of Barco.
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah, and you're driving the league forward. And I mean, I was really excited, obviously, to have a team here, but for the influence they've had and the success, it's just
Kenwin Jones. Kenwin Jones was the miss.
Kenwin Jones, yeah,
that was the miss.
Kenwin Jones was the miss. Yeah, it was injury related though, too.
And that was probably. And you didn't commit as much. I mean, what was it? Was he on 1 year?
I think him and McCann got the same kind of money. I think. I know McCann's on $500,000, something like that.
Yeah,
it's up there.
Yeah, but Kenwin was only on 1 year. Yeah, so I think they always kind of had him pinned as just a temporary bridge to the next offseason.
But it's incredible when you look at the personnel. I mean, we've just played a postseason with Tito Villalba and Ezequiel Barco coming off the bench. I mean, that's
the amazing part.
When we finally saw this team fully healthy, and they weren't injury riddled during the season, but when we saw them finally healthy, particularly at the right and left back positions, and you started to see Escobar every week, you started to see Garza every week, you got Nagby back in the lineup, and it's incredible how versatile the team became, and it was exactly what they had planned all year long.
I after that Toronto game, I had absolutely 10% hope that Atlanta United was going to.
I don't even want to re-listen to what we must have said that week because we looked like fools, absolute fools.
Did you get a little misty? You were in the stands. Joe and I were both in the press box. Did you get a little misty?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd say the first
some beer
from the time. No, I wouldn't get no. I still was drinking all my beer. Thank you very much.
Did you go to the Gulch?
Gulch all day. I'd say worst hangover of my life on Sunday.
Worth it?
Yeah, worth it. Because you're out there in the rain all day as well, so everything gets compounded. But yeah, the stadium was electric. And I'd say the moment that Almiron came off, which was such a special moment to see him acknowledge the fans and all that, and you could see what an emotional moment it was for him, and you could feel the real connection that there is between the club and the fans.
I'm so glad that both teams recognized that moment and allowed Almiron, even though.
Yeah, no one was pushing him off the field.
No one was trying to get him off the field too quickly. They recognized.
Whereas NYCFC when you need him. Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it was almost like the Atlanta-ness of it was like we're just gonna win 2-0.
Yeah.
Is this how it's gonna go?
Yeah, and it was just It was
Julian Gressel said when Atlanta scored to make it 2-0, we were at stoppage time live on Tuesday, and he said, did he say it out loud or in his head? He was like, "This is 28-3."
He said the moment that Escobar scored, his first thought was 28-3. Yeah, and I was like, man,
jeez,
he's got to get American citizenship tomorrow for that moment, right? Right? I mean, he's completely assimilated. Clearly,
he's at the very least an ATLian.
Oh yeah,
he knows. He knows the struggle now.
Yeah, and
he has lived that stressful moment and overcome it.
Yeah, and Gressel, another guy the club hit on in the super draft, which puts out nothing, now, and
thanks to Orlando City.
Yeah.
What were your feelings?
Yeah, that's right.
I was I that last 5 minutes of the match, I had to kind of put everything down. I don't think I tweeted anything out. I might have taken my phone out to take a picture. Yeah. I think I took a video of the because I had a really good view of the field. And so from the press box, I took a video of the players running out from the bench. Kind of sucks off.
I wish I would have done that.
Yeah, so I did it because I was like, I want to be able to look back at this and all that stuff.
Because
it's not the same. Yeah, it's definitely not the same as someone who might have gotten that same sort of idea in the stands because they'll get the reaction, the loudness of the crowd because our press boxes.
Yeah, in the videos that you take from inside the press box, you just hear like people like grumbling in the back, like
Sam Franco talking about Georgia. You know, all the good press box fodder.
No, but great journalists, just like
I mean, one of the amazing things was I hadn't seen this since the days of Bobby Dodd. I happened to look down towards the crowd that's basically on the touchline on the sidelines, and they were still standing 20 minutes into the match, and I feel like I hadn't noticed it as much since we moved into Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but this match, for whatever reason, I happened to look over to the 101, 102, 103, all those sections along the sides of the field, and everyone was still standing 20 minutes in. I don't know how long that lasted because I kind of forgot about it after that, but I remember that moment thinking, this is very much
the main thing I saw was the 300s were mostly standing as well, which is something that
the only reason people stood as much as they did in Bobby Dodd was because you couldn't
the 300 section
because you couldn't sit on the bleachers, and two, if you sat, the people in front of you were standing, so you couldn't see over them.
Right.
That's the only reason. It made it seem like everyone was there super attentive to the game, but it was out of necessity more than anything. This wasn't out of necessity. And this is why I loved it in Mercedes-Benz a lot more than I did in I still liked it in Bobby Dodd, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. It almost meant more seeing that at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That was one of those moments during the game where I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, when it hit me, I had that I had a similar moment, but mine was in like the third minute. It was when I forget who it was, just kind of cleaned out Miguel Almiron down the side, and when that happened, just the entire stadium was like, hey, just like everyone put an arm up, calling for the foul. And that was like, wow, this is, and don't get me wrong, like everything that happened beforehand was cool, the TIFO and all that, but it's like, we've seen that, And I think that was kind of the moment that caught a lot of the other, journalists that were around us, the national people. That's kind of what caught their eye. Like, wow,
that's interesting.
This is spectacular. Yeah,
this is a proper footy crowd.
Despite
what some
say, the spectacle of it. They were like, this feels like a huge game, but I think we're kind of
we're used to it,
accustomed to that.
So the thing I'm trying to think, was I there for the playoff game? Yeah, I was there for the playoff game. There was not nearly as much media as there was for the Columbus playoff game as there was for MLS Cup for obvious reasons. But this, for most of those, for that national media, this is the first time they're seeing Atlanta United play in Mercedes-Benz in that environment that they've only seen on TV. They haven't witnessed it live, and they still really didn't get a good representation because again, they're sitting in that soundproof press box.
Yeah.
But to see those moments and to have it click for these people is fascinating. This is the only time after 6 months of Atlanta United playing at Bobby Dodd where I was fully understanding of how did it feel to play in that environment, 73,000, all that stuff. Which most of the players are like, it's every match.
Yeah, and a lot of those media had been here for All-Star Game, but All-Star Game is especially like
that's not the same.
Yeah, you don't get all the supporter stuff that happens before. You don't get a TIFO for that. I don't think they did a TIFO for All-Star Game. So, so it's a totally different experience, and I think that everyone.
I will say though, it was still as amazing as it's always is, and it was still another level. I mean, I think
it definitely
literally contesting every single call. Providing a truly the Timbers Army brought 1,500.
I think it was closer to 17. I
17.
want to give them proper credit.
Yeah, and they were great. But right. You
make sure we count them right.
We don't want to make them too mad, but. You couldn't. I was kind of expecting. A lot of times when you watch big away matches on TV, you hear the away fans a lot because they are the ones who are incentivized to chant the whole time.
Right.
And then you could, because the crowd was so loud with every call. Everyone was chanting with the supporters section for the most part. It was truly a championship environment, and I think it made an absolute difference on the field as well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I had nothing else to say. But I know that you had something. You wanted to point something out about the game.
Yes, I did. Because we don't want to go. I mean, the game has been talked to death, so we're not going to sit here about 30 minutes and unpack it.
Honestly, at this point, and I'm going to bring it up, honestly, to me, it was talking about the game. Who cares? Because what are you going to bring up?
The win is what matters. But now that, thanks for that tease, Eric. I thought you work in radio. That's how you tease. Anyway, so my terrible information is I thought the game was not very tactical at all. It was just something. It was
almost, wasn't it? Did it seem kind of outside of the fact that it's a Lady United? I was gonna say it was pretty boring.
I think that's because the way Portland is set up to play, and we talked about this all the way leading. And everyone talked about it, is more of a team that absorbs pressure and looks to get forward on the counter, or just hitting you direct out of the back. Basically, they just let Atlanta, particularly in the first half, I thought, kind of sit on the ball a little bit and get comfortable. But I thought if you go back and rewatch, they were very disciplined defensively. They did what they wanted. And the big difference was the back five of Atlanta made the biggest difference in attack. And I think we saw for the first time the back five was what really unbalanced the Portland Timbers defense, because when you play five in the back, you can kind of, one or two can press and take risks, and you still have plenty of cover. So you look back at the Miguel Almiron chance, the crazy volley he had that comes from a Garza cross. If you look at the goal from Joseph Martinez, that comes from Perez, first of all, pressing high into the corner, as Joe had a great piece on this in Dirty South Soccer.
Both center backs were
like out of the world.
Yeah. Perez flies up, and then obviously Parkhurst makes the big tackle and gets the assist. And then you go to the second half, Joseph has a big chance on a header that comes from Franco Escobar. So Portland, as we talked all week, they like to get compact, and they had the numbers and ability back to, at times, nullify Miguel Almiron. Joseph Martinez wasn't getting on the ball a ton. We didn't see, while Nagbe and Remedi were on the ball a lot, we didn't see them with the ball in the final third. So they actually did a pretty decent job with Atlanta's attack. But when the players out of the back five got aggressive and got forward, whether it be down the flanks or pressing through the center, it really unbalanced them by adding an extra player to the attack. So I thought that was really, really fascinating. Even though there weren't a lot of tactical takeaways because neither team were taking a lot of risks, I thought that was fascinating that the back five of Atlanta, the defenders, made the biggest impact in unlocking the Portland Timbers defense.
I was actually really surprised at how Portland came out. I understand their deficiencies, but what I expected is something more along the lines of the time or MLS Cup when they played Columbus, where they're pressing the back line, where they're trying to create something and take the crowd out of it right away. Or I'm not saying it would have happened in the first 5 minutes, but you're hoping that Portland is more attacking and they're looking to score first. That way, the crowd is less of a factor. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been a factor, because you could argue that gives the crowd more incentive to get rowdy and crazy. But I'm surprised they sat back.
It's an interesting. I mean, it's something.
That's why it was such a boring game, and it surprised me that they wouldn't, I guess, better utilize Valeri.
They couldn't find him. They couldn't find the opportunities to get on the ball. I think Remedi had him really shut down. I thought he did a similar thing in this game that he did when they played NYCFC, and he just kind of man marked. I don't know if he was actually man marking Valeri, but they were just denying all entry to him.
If you look at Eric Remedi in this postseason, I mean, you could argue, aside from Miguel Almiron, you faced maybe the next three best number 10s in the league in Maxi Morales, Kaku, and then, I mean, Valeri, Sebastian Blanco. I don't know which one technically would be the 10, but certainly two really good playmakers. And in every single match, those guys not on the ball in dangerous areas, completely shut down. And Eric Remedi, just one of many standout performers that maybe people didn't recognize during the postseason. Made a huge difference.
It was crazy how the first goal came about. I thought it was the quintessential Joseph Martinez goal.
Yeah.
Starts what looks like to be an offside position. Lucky bounce, creates a turnover in the defensive third. I mean, fantastic work from Parkhurst, but
how many times have we seen him around the keeper like that?
Yeah, it was the quintessential Joseph Martinez. If you were to quit soccer tomorrow, that would be, I think, the goal that I would remember him by.
And I think
just because it encompasses everything about him so well.
That's the ultimate to people who say that he checks out of games and isn't focused. That's a moment where you would normally check out. I mean, I think that that goal is being very underrated because that chance came out of nowhere. I mean, nobody saw it coming. Everyone, he might have thought he was offside, and the wherewithal to take the touch, get in behind, dribble around the keeper like it was totally normal and routine in a situation that came out of nowhere and surprised everyone else in the stadium. Really shows you the type of striker he is and how he's always alert and looking to score goals, and that's why he's bagged 35 in all competitions this year.
Yeah, I love the fact that Escobar got the second goal. I think it's a great.
Well, that was only because of the refereeing, Eric.
What, the Escobar goal? I missed this.
Okay, so
I missed this completely.
Gio Savarese was basically saying, and I think he's a great manager. I actually really enjoy the way that he talks with the media. But he said that the referee ruined the momentum of the match with the second goal, and he was talking about the foul on Joseph Martinez from Larry Mabiala that led to the free kick. It probably was a foul, but first of all, you conceded a set-piece goal from 45 yards from goal. You leave the top scorer in MLS history unmarked at the top of the penalty spot.
Ooh, just because he's short doesn't mean that
you can't.
There's plenty of evidence to suggest that he can get up there, can head the ball to goal, can hit it.
You can't blame the referees for conceding a set-piece goal from there where you broke down defensively like that. I just thought that was hilarious that because when he said that, I was like, what? Was there a foul on the free kick?
I remember when he said that, I initially thought he was talking about something else that happened in the game. I couldn't believe it was. I thought it was like, I don't know.
What did you guys think? Because everyone has different opinions on the potential penalty with Joseph and Mabiala in the first half.
Yeah.
That was so close. What did you guys think?
It was close. I like that it was not given. I just, to me, I think it's one of those ones where it's borderline, and in a big match like that, I don't think you just want to change the game on a penalty. So.
Especially, initially I thought, I think he got the ball, and I'm sitting in the press box hoping he didn't. I was hoping VAR would overturn it. This match made me hate VAR. BT dubs. I thought ininitially he got the ball. And
I didn't even see it.
I'm also, me neither.
The replay is.
I think TV said
he really didn't.
I think TV said he didn't get the ball.
But there was very little contact. It was a heavy touch.
The touch was heavy.
It was more what you said, Joe, where it was like you don't really want to give that in the final. And it was one of those. If he had given the penalty on the field, it would not have gone to VAR. And if he didn't give it, that was a referee's discretion call. Yeah. And I agree with Joe. I had no problem with it at all. Although at the time, obviously,
what minute was that? Because again, I thought that was pretty early. I think that had a lot to
14, 15.
Yeah. I think that had a lot to do with why it wasn't given, because it was so early. The strong touch, the fact that at least at first glance it looks to me like, at least to me from my angle, not the same as the refs, but it looked like he got the ball.
He might have gotten a little piece of it, to be honest.
I'm glad it wasn't.
It's one of those.
We're also talking about this from the perspective of fans who won the game.
Yeah, right. We might be saying something different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then you'd hate VAR because they didn't review it because, as we all know, whether you like VAR or not depends on whether it works out for you.
Yeah, but I'm happy for Franco Escobar, just because
not happy for Sam Franco.
The playoff run he had was actually spectacular, and to cap it off with essentially the clinching goal for Atlanta United was, I think,
he the best player in the playoffs for Atlanta United?
Yes, he scored as many goals as we conceded in the. We conceded 3 goals in the playoffs. Is that right? Or just 2?
2 goals.
One to Red Bulls, one to New York.
So Franco Escobar outscored, because Franco had 3, or did he have 2?
He had 2. He had the one in the regular season, right?
I don't know.
No, I don't know anymore.
Either I think he maybe.
Someone fact check us.
Because he had 3. Because one of them was in the regular season when he scored on it with his right foot, or his left foot. But anyway, just he carried us. His goal scoring prowess was good enough for us to win the playoffs all by himself.
What's weird, because all season we were talking about how, man, Franco Escobar is just crazy out on the wing. He seems so much better suited as a right center back, and it's amazing that we go the entire year with Gressel out on the wing in the most important matches in Atlanta United history. He's in the middle of the field. That paired with Escobar pulling performances out of his butt on that right wing to fill in for Julian, who's in the middle. It's amazing. We went through this entire year with a specific setup, and then the playoffs we have to change it, and Atlanta United looks even better, stronger, more attacking.
Yeah, Escobar was the key tactically to Garza in a lot of ways.
Garza too, yeah.
So before we move on, I want to ask you guys. You guys are behind the scenes. Joe's at training a lot. Eric, you're in the locker room, with them after every match. Was there a moment this year, or there's something you saw behind the scenes where you could kind of recognize there was a special vibe, that this was a special group? Not to put you on the spot, but I'm just interested.
There was one quote that comes to mind for me, and it was actually talking to Chris McCann. But it was toward the end of the season. Can't really remember exactly which games it was around, but he kind of, he just talked about how he truly enjoyed just coming to work, coming to the training ground and just like being around his friends, just being around the people on the team. And it doesn't feel like a grind when it's like that. And I think it's really a testament just to the whole kind of family atmosphere that Tata Martino helped create within the playing squad, but it also speaks to just like the kind of the atmosphere around the club in general that stretches beyond the training fields. It's just a good atmosphere to be. It's a good place to work every day. And I think that the players just really felt like a true camaraderie with one another that you don't get on every team, even every playoff team. I don't think you're every championship, contending team. I don't know if you kind of get that kind of quality.
We obviously don't follow the other MLS teams as closely as we do Atlanta United. But to see, much like you said, Joe, to see how this team interacts with each other outside, off the field, in their own personal lives, how they have really close relationships with each other. I'm pretty sure LGP and Barco flew in the same plane back to Argentina. That's just a guess. I'm not 100% sure, but based on interviews I saw with media down there, I just assumed. But to me, it was the moments in the locker room after good wins where they're blaring the Spanish music. That's
Vaina Loca. That was the one like every game.
That's when I was like, there's something here. I think there's that the San Jose comeback. Even though for me that kind of started the bad swing in momentum to end the regular season. I think their reaction in the locker room after that Toronto loss. No, I'm sorry, that wasn't at home. That was away.
Yeah, we pretend you're in the locker room.
The conversations that we heard about after that loss, that to me spoke volumes. The way they bounced back against New York, that it was then, I think, the bounce back against New York that I thought, okay, there's a chance.
There's one more for me that really sticks out, and it's not even from this year. It's actually from last year, but I think it really speaks to the familial kind of atmosphere around the team. And it was last year after a game in the locker room, Paul McDonough comes down into the locker room. Typically, when you're in the locker room, you'll see like Darren will come down or some executives will come
Darren's
through.
high-fiving players.
Yeah, they'll high-five players and stuff like that. And after a game, Paul McDonough had come down and he had brought his kids with him. And I don't know how old the kids were, but they were, not toddlers, but like little kids. And they were in their, Atlanta United jerseys. And one of them like goes up to Miguel and kind of like, I don't know, taps him or something. And then like Miguel starts chasing him around in the locker room. He's like, oh, no. What happens was the kid goes up to Miguel. He goes up to him, gets his attention, and turns around, points to his Joseph. He's got Joseph Martinez on the back of his shirt. And then Miguel like jumps up from his seat and starts chasing the kid around. And he kind of lets kid run around for a bit, and then Miguel like gets him and scoops him up in his arms, and and the kid was just delighted as you would ever see a little boy.
That's a good one.
And I think that kind of it's like
family.
What other club? Yeah, it's like how often do you see that kind of thing? I think a lot of these players are like humble in that way that they don't like, and especially Miguel. Miguel is like so incredibly nice with everybody he meets, whether it's a journalist or an executive son or something like that. But they just have a certain humility about them, and I think that kind of helps them ingratiate themselves with the rest of the squad, whether it's a Joseph Martinez or a college guy who just got drafted. That they all kind of are in it, see themselves as in it together.
I think it's certain private schools have this kind of motto where we're not only just educating, but we're putting out, we're pushing out good people. And I think that's sort of the same kind of mindset Atlanta United has.
Debatable private school does that, but
sure, yeah, but you get what I'm saying, yeah.
I'm just being a douche.
I think that Darren Eales, Carlos, Arthur Blank, they all have that same mindset that obviously they want to win, they want to create exciting soccer, create a culture for the fans, but because this is going to be a selling team moving forward, there's something to pushing out good quality just people like Miguel Almiron, Joseph Martinez.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Joseph Martinez, who again same sort of character. As much fight as he has, he's good people. LGP, they're all a family that is going to back each other up no matter what. They're not. What player would you consider a D-bag?
That's a great point, because if Atlanta United are selling players,
the one thing I'll say is the whole Barco stuff. Look, for someone who went through that, it seems as though he and the team have certainly turned things around.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe something that will help him mature. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, his willingness to play 5 minutes and be very enthusiastic about it.
His humbleness, the fact that we never heard anything from Barco to basically being relegated to the bench. Same with Tito. Tito could have made the biggest fuss in the world and never said a word.
Yeah.
So something that other people might not know is that ever since that incident, every day after training from a certain point, after that incident on, Ezequiel Barco's dad was in the training lobby, or in the lobby of the training ground every day, and they would have mate every morning together. And I think that he had an issue.
It's almost
there was a disturbance in the force.
I almost feel like it's the 18-year-old that goes to college, and just goes nuts, and then is out of college after the first semester.
And you're also getting paid.
Exactly. I think that's sort of what Barco went through. He had left his home. He left his culture. He was in a place completely different, and it got the best of him. Mm-hmm. But for what, again, credit to the team, credit to Darren Eales, to Carlos, to everyone that was involved in turning things around for the team. If you haven't seen the picture, Barco and Brandon Vasquez are hugging at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind when you think about the stories and you think about what happened, how that's all turned around. And I think that all is a credit to what Atlanta United was able to do this season. It obviously helps that they all seemingly peaked at the right time. Their best run of form was in this playoff.
That speaks just as much about Brandon Vasquez too as it does about Barco. So I mean, everybody came together for this. I mean, I think everybody, it was just it was a true unit for sure.
We do have to say goodbye to some people. Greg Garza being one, going to SC Cincinnati. It is going to be sad, but he is. It makes sense for the club, and I don't want to say that. I think you used a phrase on Soccer Down Here. You don't want to put dirt on the grave too early or something like that. Is that you?
That's morbid.
That doesn't sound like. I think that must have been Jared.
I forget.
That is definitely Jared.
I forget who said it, but it was perfect because we all love Garza. We all love what he was able to contribute to the team. Again, I think he's part of the reason you're as successful as you are in the playoffs. But this team wasn't going to stay completely intact going into 2019, and so he's one of the casualties. But he'll have a fantastic career. Fantastic. I love how he called his lifestyle the gypsy lifestyle.
Yeah, I love
that. His little goodbye, because that's a perfect example. The fact that he knows, I think it's at least 3 different languages. He's lived in a million different cultures. I think that you've heard it around. I want to say the other podcast and maybe even in writing that he was sort of the link and the glue that kind of kept the team together when it came to the different cultures, the languages, stuff like that.
Younger and older players.
Absolutely,
as well.
He was instrumental. He's only 27. He can play, assuming he stays healthy. He's going to play for another 5, 6, 7 years. Maybe.
All the best to him. Cincinnati got a really good player, and from Atlanta's side though, I mean it's mean. It's part of the business. It's crazy how there's player turnover in MLS 24, 48 hours after the MLS.
It's the one thing I don't like, but it has to happen.
But I think it's good business for Atlanta United. I mean, when you consider you've got already Ambrose who can play left back, who did a good job for you this year, and then obviously you want to give George Bello time whenever you possibly can, because he's not. I don't think he's going to be here that long, and he's a special prospect.
He's what, 16 still?
Yeah.
He's 16.
He'll be 17 in January.
Yeah, okay. 17 when the season starts. So
maybe one full year of.
You really want to find, I mean, if he's ready to go and he looks ready, and obviously he looked ready from that little we saw of him, but from what we hear from, Joe's talked about it a lot, reported on a lot. Jeff Laurentowicz basically said he was ready. I mean, that he was ready to play. And in the interview after the game, he scored. He said that about George Bello. So I think from Atlanta United's perspective, you have a young player coming through. You have a player in Mikey Ambrose who clearly can play in a pinch. We assume Chris McCann will be back next season as well on the left.
Jose Hernandez.
Jose Hernandez, right, who, we'll see. You don't really know what you're going to get from him, but he started to play more with the twos as the season went on and made his debut for Atlanta. And then in the end, you get $250,000 of TAM, $200,000 of GAM. And Joe is going to, first of all, explain what that means to everybody and why it's good business, because that's what he told me, and that's what I said, what I just said. But since I don't really understand any of this ridiculousness, I'll let Joe
basically
give you the
Josh just regurgitated everything he was told. And
yes, and now Joe can take it further. Yeah, because
if you can go online and search MLS's database for the actual definitions of these things. But whenever you're talking about TAM or GAM, you're basically just talking about like, this is how much more money we have on the salary cap. Like, this is how much more money we have for everybody. It's not like, you can't really, at this point in time, you can't tell how it's going to be used. You can't be like, oh, it's going to be used to buy down so-and-so. I mean, it might be partially used, but at the end of the day, all the TAM and GAM that you have, all this allocation money gets lumped in together, and then you just see how you can use it in different areas. So you're just kind of collecting it in a pot. What
is the difference? Is it like a Venn diagram type deal? We can use them both for some things?
Yeah, so TAM can only be used to buy down a designated player to a non-designated player status. GAM can be used for anybody. So it can be used to buy down GAM is just added money to the salary cap, but TAM specifically needs to be used for a designated player. So but they're really just doing the same thing.
Okay, so TAM is extra money you can use for a DP.
Yes.
Basically, okay. Is that specifically with just buying them down to make them?
It's specifically taking them from DP to non-DP.
So in Atlanta United, was it Tito Villalba?
Tito, yeah.
So they used TAM to buy him down to make room
Tito,
for Barco, and that basically means you're giving him a lump sum up front of that TAM. Is that what that means?
I'm not sure how I don't think it affects how the players actually get paid.
Okay.
But if you looked at this year's, you would have Tito, who was that player, Nagby was that player, Leandro Gonzalez-Perez was that player. I'm trying to think of what other players were paid over the $480,000.
I was going to say that's threshold.
It's something like that, yeah, 480 or something. So anybody who's paid over that, they're getting TAM used to bring their salaries down.
What was? I'm curious because look, never mind. We'll save this for a little later.
So the number is, what was it? 485. So basically, Atlanta United is using TAM on those guys you mentioned. Chris McCann is.
Greg Zan, I think is good. Would it need TAM?
The thing is that if you're going to use.
I think Chris McCann.
Chris McCann's on $540K a year.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you're paying him the money anyway. It's what good does it do you? Sorry, that does GAM and TAM does or does not count toward the cap.
Well,
it brings that money. It brings their cap hit down.
Okay, yeah.
Then I definitely use it on the CAM.
Well, yeah, I mean you have to. Otherwise, you can't register the player.
So basically, TAM and GAM has helped you pay Tito Villalba, Joseph Martinez, Miguel Almiron. All these guys are making over that minimum salary of $45K. Darlington Nagby, Chris McCann, Ezequiel
I have a feeling that a lot of that money is going
to
go to guys like Darlington, who maybe are expecting a bump in pay or whatever. If nothing else, just to keep his salary consistent, but with whatever he's making now.
Don't you think what I'm interested in with is getting another player in?
Yeah.
Do you think that can be?
Here's it could happen, but
here's what I was thinking. If you plan, let's in La La Land, if we assume or imagine that Almiron can stay, and you buy him down with whatever TAM that you have, and this is why I was kind of curious as to whether they got this kind of money up front or in a lump sum or whatever. If he's gone, say in the summer, then you can go ahead and buy him down, knowing that you're not going to keep him that long term past the summer window, and then go ahead and bring in another player in this winter transfer window and pay him the DP money that he wants.
Yeah.
So basically, it creates extra $450K of extra cap.
Just gives you more, gives you more flexibility in the salary cap to try to fit everybody in. The thing is, so like last year we sold, who'd we sell last year? Assad. So we got like $500K TAM for him, and we probably used that $500K to help us buy down Tito or Nagby. Well, we don't have that $500. We don't have that $500K coming in, so we gotta get it from somewhere.
Literally, the next point I was going to bring
we need to buy down these players. So
this money might be used just to buy down the same players we already have.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That could definitely be the case because we sold players last year. Carmona was the same. We got $650 GAM for him. And then we bought Remedy, so I'm not sure what Remedy's on.
It seems like Atlanta has, I mean, when you look at how much Cincinnati gave up for Garza and Kendall Waston just over the last 48 hours, and they gave up upwards of $1 million in allocation money between the two, it feels like Atlanta has a lot of Tam and Gam kind of stacked up. I mean, I know they made $150K to getting in CCL.
It might be like that way, but you really don't know.
It feels like that.
I hate that the books aren't open.
Yeah,
I hate it because then we get a better sense of how well a guy like Darren Eales is doing with his cap.
Yeah, but so I look at it like this. So Joe, can you do this? There's $450K of extra money. A Leandro Gonzalez Pires type player makes $650K a year. So can you go get a player, pay him that $485, and then the remainder is paid in Tam and Gam to buy him down, or does it have to be applied to players that are already on your roster?
No, I mean, it could be applied to a new player for sure. Yeah, it definitely could.
So basically, you're looking at like 150 to 200K of that getting you a player who's making about what Pires or Villalba is making right now.
Yeah, I mean, in theory.
After
in theory.
It's hard to find those players because.
This is all after you paid down Tito and
right
anyone else that you paid with Tam and Gam. Right. So it's not like you've collected all this money and then, all right, let's use the money on a new player. It's okay. We got to pay Tito because we've already tanned and gammed him to death. We got to
you got to take care of your guys that are under
contract. We got to do the same thing with McCann.
Right.
We do the same. Whoever you've tanned and gammed all up and down this roster, you got to do that before you think about going to another player. So you see this big money coming in, but that literally might be used just to pay off the players you already have on your roster.
My gut feeling as to Atlanta's strategy this offseason is going to be actually to not move that many pieces. I think that it could make sense in the right circumstance to make one more kind of big sale and get a big chunk of allocation, another big chunk of allocation money in, and then maybe a little bit, You
think
no, I don't think anybody wants to can. But I don't think you want to move too many pieces because of how quick this offseason is going to turn around, and all of a sudden you're back in training camp.
Training camp starts in like a month.
Yeah.
So
it's
well, and last question, Joe. So we assume Almiron is going to be sold. You get Tam Gam for transfers, obviously.
Not for a DP.
Not for a designated player. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So the transfer money that Atlanta United gets, they can only use put some of that back into the team, right?
$750,000.
Doesn't.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
I think 700.
Right.
I think 750,000 of the transfer fee goes to Tam.
Yeah,
that was the number I had in my head too. So
yeah.
Okay, got it.
So I believe that's
so. I mean, that's good value. That's good value you got for a guy that's. And we say he's 27, but he's had a lot of injuries. You've already got a young guy coming up. You got cover there, and you're going to get. I mean, we just kind of explained it. I mean, that's good value. I mean, that's very good value for
the positive thing about being, having this model of being a selling team. Not only is it like a fiscally sustainable thing to do from like an ownership perspective, but from a team building perspective, if you're selling one of those big players every year, you basically have like an advantage on the rest of the league. Like you have like $750K more on your salary cap to spend if through selling that player than most other teams are going to have, and that's only if you're selling one. But you could have more than that, like we kind of did with Garza this year. So I think the more you do it, the more it's going to roll on top of each other and snowball and just become a bigger advantage.
Okay,
but it's hard on the other side. It's hard to integrate new players. It's hard to it's hard to kind of keep that going and keep a cohesion within the team. So.
I do want to just kind of ask you, I mean, again, because I thought Greg Garza was a huge piece, and I've heard Joe tell it just seems like a funny, happy, Eric talks about he's the link, a lot of people talk about the link between the Hispanic players and the English-speaking players, or the older, the Parkers and Laurentowitzes and the, Almirons and Josephs as far as age goes. Any Garza stories? I mean, any cool stuff that kind of embodied that kind of awesome personality that he was?
Garza was in terms of being the link, I think it was a lot of him being like a translator, an unofficial translator for the team. But I think that was much more important in 2017 when the team was brand new, and since the team is gelled, I think they can kind of communicate a little bit more.
Sure.
But there were definitely stories of him like having to be called over, to like. Get something across from one person to the other. But yeah, no. Other than that, I mean, I think he's just like I don't know. He's a good guy. I'll be sad to see him go, but I
don't have anything specific, but I know that he talked highly of anyone you asked about. He talked highly of.
That's the feeling you get. This genuine good guy who's been through a lot in his career. I mean, all kinds of injuries the last few years.
I think he talked
about.
Close
talker.
I think he talked.
Is
about.
He a close talker?
He's a close talker.
Oh, okay. That's the kind of information I want. That's what I'm looking for.
I mean, he talked about retiring after the hip thing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he talked that was a serious consideration to bounce back from that and to rebounce back from it after the shoulder thing. That it all plays into his into the type of player he is, the never give up, all that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. One player that everyone expects to leave, again, like we mentioned, Miguel Almirón. The ball's on Darren Eales to throw out the price tag.
Well, he said the number has to start with a 3.
At $30 million.
Yeah, he did. He doubled down on that. I was like,
he
was joking. He was joking about he has to be $33 million or whatever to get him out of bed. But now I still don't think we're going to get that.
No, me neither.
He's driving a hard bargain for sure.
I saw the barely $20 million, and I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, same here.
And I very much thought in line in terms of what you were thinking, in terms of you're getting three times more than what you paid for him, essentially.
They paid 8 or something, and they were getting back close to 20. Yeah, over 20.
I thought that's fair. I think that this season, not the best for Almirón. He had a big block of time where he wasn't producing.
Remember that when we were saying he was out of form and
I think that look, I don't want to get too negative, but I think a lot of European clubs are going to look at it. It's going to be the Giovinco effect, where it's a kid playing in MLS. The talent isn't going to be as hardcore as what you're going to get in England, or in Europe. So that's something you got to consider. If you're going to pay $30 million, $25 million, $20 million for someone, you want to be pretty damn sure you're going to get a good polished product that has been tested. So to hear $30 million, I'm like, holy crap. And I'm not saying he's not worth it, but I am saying that, you got to look at the whole, you got to take a step back and look at the whole picture, including his year, including the amount of money that Darren Eales is asking for. I think what Darren Eales is doing is smart because, again, he is openly saying this is the starting price tag. This is the starting price for Almirón.
Yeah.
If you're not coming in with a serious offer starting at something with a 3, we'll talk later.
And I think that's the way you play it when you're still upwards of 2 weeks away from the transfer window. And of course, as Joe says, you really want to drive a hard bargain. So I love that Darren Eales came out and did that. And I think some of the rumors, particularly with Newcastle, have come. A lot of them come out of Paraguay. So that's in terms of who's being fed that information. It could be from someone in Almirón's camp. It could be from someone at Newcastle. So the rumor is going to be a lower price tag. If the rumor is coming from Atlanta's side or something you hear from Darren Eales, then you're probably going to hear a higher number at this point because right now everyone's kind of just posturing and waiting and seeing. And I don't think one thing that really struck me was that Almirón said he was going to be back for preseason. And I know that's not for sure, but that kind of implies not that he's going to be back next season, but that he might not be sold until towards the end of January because the training camp starts in mid-January. And that
I can see him coming back to keep himself fit.
Absolutely. And I think he might have said that because he anticipates that Atlanta United is going to drive. They're going to get the best price they possibly can for him. And he anticipates that might not be January 1st when the window opens. It might be you wait. And a desperate team comes in later in the month and tries to kind of overpay for him.
But I also
not overpay, but pay more.
I also think it's the right thing to say in that moment to just say not to. Your team has just won a championship. You don't want to do
the price is never going to be higher than right now.
Where he's like, well, I'm out of here after this game, where he's like already talking about going to the next club or whatever. So I really liked him kind of just, towing the party line and kind of.
And helping Atlanta out.
Definitely helping Atlanta.
He helps Atlanta so much by not saying, and if they don't sell him, if January 30th comes around, they haven't sold him, I'm sure he'll sing a different tune. But right now, you love that he's, nothing but good things to say about the club. He wants out. He wants to go to Europe, but he's not becoming a distraction to the point where European teams know they can kind of kind of underbid for him and get him to come there.
So Elliot Beaven has said something in the chat that I want to talk about, which is that he doesn't think he should go to Newcastle.
I agree.
I agree too.
I don't agree at all. Let's fight.
Okay, good. It's fight time. Okay. So first of all,
that comes off.
Well,
sure.
The club is in a well, as they have kind of been seemingly nonstop since Mike Ashley's been the owner, but they're in a state of flux right now. They might be sold. They're kind of in the relegation scrap right now, and they're a team. I mean, they have a lot of money, and they've used it recklessly so often that they've been relegated 3 times. 2-3 times in the last 8-9 years.
If you're a player,
it's not a stable club.
If you're a player, do you want to go to a team like this and hope that maybe you're the key, you're the missing piece that turns it around for this club? Because I wouldn't. At the very least,
there's going to be pressure on me.
At the very least, I'll take less money personally. Less transfer fee is a different story. I'll take less personal contract money to play on a contender than I will for a team that I'm going to have to. Not that I wouldn't try my hardest, but I would want some kind of, at least on paper, some kind of assurances that I'm not going to a team that's going to suck.
I like that his manager will be able to speak his language and communicate with him. I like that he'll be playing for a big club with one of the biggest stadiums, biggest, best, and well-known stadiums in England.
And yet in the relegation.
I like that he's playing for a lower to mid-table team because I think it suits his game better. I think that he will be able to stretch his legs on the break and really try to expose teams on the counter, where we saw him be the most effective here, as opposed to playing in like an Arsenal or a Tottenham where he has to play in these very tight spaces and play this intricate style.
I agree with that 100%. It's Newcastle specifically that bothers me a little bit. I just that's again. They have the big stadium. They have all the money. They've been relegated twice.
I know they've been, but they bounced straight back up both times.
But does that indicate a stable club to you?
To me,
if Miguel Almirón goes down at age 26, 27, that's going to be really bad for his career. It's going to be tough for him.
He's making that paper.
I mean, can we just do?
For sure, he'll get paid.
Like a straight swap for Miggy to Leeds, and we'll get Bielsa.
I mean, God, the Bielsa crap. I don't even know.
I'm just kidding, guys.
And look, Joe's right. I mean, it's still good if he goes there, but I'd rather him go to a West Ham. I'd rather him go to a Wolves. I'd rather him go to a Leicester, Bournemouth, Everton.
I would love to see him at Leicester.
West Ham's been relegated recently too.
Absolutely, you're right. They're a small step above. But
listen, you could, and I mean, I just don't want to. I don't think it should be like you should look at a team's standing in the table and use that as like a reason for why they should or shouldn't go there. I don't think it's like that's just a good way to analyze a situation. I think you need to look at more
history of the club.
What's that?
The recent history of the club.
Well, not even the recent history, but just like what is in place at the club that will either help him succeed or not, and whether that style of play, manager, he can get along with, all these things. And I also think that he wants to be like in a bigger city. That's kind of just the impression I get. I have no idea if that's true or not, but Newcastle is, one of the bigger towns. I always assumed he would just probably go somewhere in the London area, because that's somewhere he would want to be. But obviously there are lots of mitigating factors for this. So I don't know. I just don't have if he didn't go to Newcastle, I'd be fine with that too. It's not like I'm totally dead set on Newcastle, but I just don't have an issue with him.
I know that. I feel like a lot of Atlanta United fans are the same way. I'm going to follow Miggy wherever he goes.
Absolutely, yeah. I cannot wait to turn
Sunday,
on Saturday mornings.
Maybe I just don't like Newcastle. I just don't want to watch Newcastle. Maybe that's what it is.
Even scarred by it. I'll have Solomon Rondon there to talk about Joseph Martinez.
Another Venezuela. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we got that look forward to. Hopefully that.
DeAndre Yedlin, another American.
I'm not looking forward to this dragging out though. As an Atlanta United fan, I want this to kind of get done as soon as possible.
It's going to be interesting because
I know that he said he was going to be back at preseason, or I think he meant to say expects to be back at preseason. But what the hell else are you going to say?
Exactly.
He just won MLS Cup.
So here's the thing with this transfer about. I'm interested to see how long it drags on, because it seems like they have Pity Martinez in the bag. Like the River Plate's president has come out and said, yes, he's going there. His last game for us will be.
He said it. LGP said it.
Yeah.
I think Marco said it.
It's so well known, and if it's known that, they have like a fourth DP essentially already hooked up. I wonder if that affects the Atlanta's negotiating power.
Can they complete the transfer for PT?
Yes, they can have 4.
With okay.
Yeah, they can have 4.
You just can't play a match.
Okay, so what
you can be out of roster rules off season. So you can be over the salary cap. You can have all that
training camp as well.
Yeah, until like the registration date of whenever it is.
Okay.
What if?
About the registration.
Yeah, it's just like football.
Okay. Yeah. What if? And I know it's a big if, and this is again La La Land. But what if Darren Eales, Atlanta United, just give MLS a big middle finger? Don't move Almiron and bring in Pity.
No, the thing is,
I don't even want to entertain
by the way,
this conversation.
It's El Pity.
El Pity.
Not just Pity, it's El Pity.
El Pity. Okay, cool. Okay, so the thing is, if you do that, you're giving a middle finger to Miguel Almiron too. Yeah. And the way Atlanta United handles this is very important.
Time out. We don't know that he wants to leave and go to Newcastle.
We know. Well, I would be shocked.
We know he wants to go to Europe.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked.
He's literally said, "I want to play in Europe in 2009."
No, sure. Europe is one thing. Specifically Newcastle.
Oh, okay. I would be shocked if he was like, "No, but not Newcastle. Can't handle it. That beer is overrated." I would be shocked, and I think. To your point, though, Eric, the way that Atlanta United handles this is very important because, again,
this is going to set the precedent for everyone.
You don't want guys to be seeing Atlanta United threatening, putting Almiron in an uncomfortable situation, putting the club in an uncomfortable situation. This needs to happen smoothly.
Yeah.
So
that's why I don't want to drag on.
Yeah.
I feel like it sets a bad precedent for future sales.
If you handle it properly with him, and we know he loves the club, you could have it drag on without him raising a fuss. But you can't let it drag on and have him come out and say, I feel betrayed. They said they were going to. You cannot allow that. I don't think that'll happen.
No, me neither.
But the way it's handled by the club is very, very important.
Almiron won't make a fuss. It'll be his dad.
His dad, his agent. Yeah, that's right. Or Joseph's grandfather.
I don't know.
No,
he acts like his agent.
Yeah,
everyone knows that the attempt is being made to move Almiron. That's not a secret. That's
right.
That's been in the works for pretty much 2 years now. That's not a secret. That's not where Atlanta United is actively talking to teams and looking at deals for Almiron, probably as we speak.
Yeah, I agree.
It's about finding the right deal that helps Atlanta United, that helps Miguel Almiron, that puts both parties, all 3 parties, I guess, if you include Almiron as a separate, I think puts them in the best position possible for what they're going.
If I were to just speculate based on nothing whatsoever, the quote where Almiron said he wanted to be in Europe in 2019 came out over the summer, right? And
yes.
So he was there were rumors about him during the summer window, and you didn't hear anything from him other than I love Atlanta, I want to be here. I would guess the club came because he did love Atlanta and want to be here, and the club said, "Look, we're going to sell you in January. You love it here. Let's go win MLS Cup. Go on, and we January. Don't make a fuss now in August." And instead, you get that kind of quote of, "I'm going to be gone in 2019."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was his. I read that as, I want to be here now, but I've also gotten assurances that I'm going to be sold in January, in the January window. And it's based on nothing whatsoever, but that's the way I read that. And so I think, again, if he has assurances from the club that they're going to sell him, then they need to do it.
I would love the idea of Almiron and Pity on the same field. I just don't think it works with everything else around with Atlanta United, because now you're pulling someone else off the field. Because I know this has been thrown around, the idea that, well, what if we just keep Almiron and play both of them alongside each other, whatever. You're pulling Gressel, you're pulling Rometty, you're pulling.
It would be tight.
You're pulling. Oh, it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to see. But I don't know that it works.
If Almiron came out January 1st and said, "No, I've changed my mind. I want to stay in Atlanta. I was listening to Eric on Mouths at the South talk about why would you want to leave, and now I want to stay." We would get that Tam and Gam out, and we would buy one of those DPs down for sure.
Technically, Joseph could be bought down. So you can only buy down. You can't buy down a player who's making more than 1.5 million.
Okay.
So
there's another.
So Joseph is on like 1.2 or something, which is just absurd that he's on that little money.
Wow. You think he holds out next year?
I would, if I were him, I would be like,
I would too, and I wouldn't feel bad. I wouldn't look at Joseph Martinez in any way differently because I would do the same thing. After he broke the record, I was like, he could stop playing right now, demand the highest paid contract in MLS history, and it'd be fully warranted. I'd back him 100%.
And it's not like you would even be.
I'm glad
it would be hurting the club in terms of like miss games or whatever, but it wouldn't be in terms of the salary cap because he's a DP, so he's already like it would. It doesn't affect the salary cap at all. It's just about his actual physical salary. So anyway, that's a different.
All right, we want more rumors.
There's coaching stuff.
Manager rumors.
Yeah.
What's the latest you guys heard? What's piqued your interest?
Well, I didn't know there was actually a Pardew rumor. I thought that was all just people joking, but there was a rumor from the Mirror that Alan Pardew is in consideration.
Let's get Bielsa out on the table.
Yeah, let's go to one that actually makes sense to some extent.
Not.
Well, and that's
more than Alan Pardew.
Yeah, that's true.
The reason the Bielsa rumor is out there is because things appear to make sense. It's not that there's any like legitimate connection. It's just journalists having pieced it together, and then
can you take us through that, Joe?
It ramps up when one journalist says, "Well, Bielsa could be the next manager," and then another journalist who works for NBC says, "This journalist says that Bielsa is in contention to be the next manager." It's like, no, he didn't say he's in contention. He said
he was just speculating it would make sense because he's South American. He plays that aggressive style. Tata Martino is a Bielcista, one of his people of his. Yeah, so right. It was basically an article written where the guy was speculating.
Joe Prince Wright, said that he's an NBC reporter, referenced an AP reporter who speculated that it could be a possibility.
My thing is,
Joe Prince Wright added the fact that Leeds is now apparently under some financial strain, and there are some issues with Bielsa actually getting paid, so he could leave the job. So
so that changes things a little bit.
It puts more pieces in place for it to possibly happen. That said, I just if St. Pauli was too much, Bielsa is a crazy person. He's insane.
No, literally, he signed with Lazio a few years ago and left like a week later.
Yeah,
he's a complete nut. And so that rumor we're going 2 out of 10 maybe.
Here's the thing. If you look at everything on paper, and I honestly didn't know about the Leeds financial issue, so let's remove that just for a second. Leeds second in the table in the championship. Why would you leave a situation like that? Again, aside
that would literally be the only reason.
That would only be the only reason.
And I'm sure Leeds is desperate to get back into the Premier League,
right?
And I'm sure they would find a way to get him paid.
It'd be amazing if they were.
1 point behind.
It would be awesome. It would be awesome.
1 behind Norwich City.
I have no idea.
I think it's Norwich City. 42. I think
it's Norwich.
Norwich. My bad.
That's all I always say. Do you call it a sandwich when I'm talking to English people? And they're like, it doesn't make sense.
Anyways,
Sandy. That's true. They do.
Why would you leave that situation to go take the job that your mentee, your disciple, just left? Here's the picture I want to paint for everyone. The next person, regardless of who it is, that manages Atlanta United is not going to do as good of a job as Tata Martino did. That's just not going to happen. In all likelihood, and again, I don't want to get super negative, but in all likelihood, next year is not going to be as successful as this year. If it is, fantastic. And there's the possibility that can be. Yeah. But because of the turnover, because of the changes, I'm not saying it's not going to be a successful season. It might not end with an MLS championship.
Well, I'm sure Atlanta will be 3-1 odds,
right.
Which is not
because the odds aren't in favor of Atlanta to repeat.
Yeah,
that manager is going to, by definition, do worse or should do worse than what Tata Martino was able to do.
And you're playing in a new competition. There's lots of things.
There is so much that goes into this. This is the legacy you leave with Atlanta is going to be, in all likelihood, not as good as the legacy left by Tata Martino. And if anything, it's going to look bad for your personal legacy, your personal career. You go to Atlanta, you go to MLS, do worse than the guy that you mentored.
Yeah.
In the same situation he was in, with arguably, depending on how you see Piti, better players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With all the financial resources.
It doesn't make sense for him either.
It makes absolutely no sense. Unless he's not getting paid, which is a completely different story, to move to Atlanta.
And look, the rumor, like Joe said, is based on essentially nothing. But Bielsa's a big name. So if someone sees Bielsa rumored going anywhere, everyone's going to pick it up. So that one, I would be shocked. Jorge Sampaoli, who I was all in. I was Team Samp. I wanted him. I think he's a fantastic manager. Rumors that Atlanta met with his representatives in Argentina, I think last week. I can't remember, but he's hired.
It was supposed to be when Darren Neal's. Yeah, it was the week before.
Wasn't Darren Neal's out of town?
Down there, Argentina. The rumor is that they went down there to talk to Guillermo Barros-Schelotto and Sampaoli. Turns out they couldn't talk to GBS because they had to go to Madrid.
We're gonna call him Guille.
Guille?
Like that, Guille.
That's it.
Yeah, Guille.
And then we only got to meet with Sampaoli or Sampaoli's lawyers or something like that.
Okay.
But I like what Chris B here says, that it could just be a whole facade set up by
Sampaoli to get big money with Santos. So I was disappointed in that. That leaves us with.
I like Sampaoli too. I'm with you. Where it's like
it
was more just out of pure intrigue. Where I just would have loved to see his react. Like
just get that man in a tee with his tatted up arms going wild on the sideline. Like, I mean, it would have been fun.
Pro wrestling, it's just like I want to see him and just
pumping up the crowd at MBS. I mean, yeah, it'd be great.
Was it the World Cup where he was wearing just a black T-shirt?
Yeah,
that was awesome. That was
muscle tee with his.
It's funny because I don't think most people knew that hadn't. I mean, he played in the '90s, but people didn't know he had tatted up. That he was tatted like that, I mean, like, oh my God! And suddenly everyone realized what a crazy. Suddenly everyone realized he's a crazy, crazy dude when they saw that. But I think he's a great manager, but that leaves us with Schelotto. That Eric taught me that, and he's correct. Schelotto is the.
Oh, Schelotto.
That's the way to say it, right?
Schelotto.
Oh, Schelotto. Yeah. So I was like, come on, Eric. That's
Barros Schelotto.
Yeah, but Schelotto and So
anyways, the people call him
Guille.
Guille.
I like that.
There's another nickname he's given. I couldn't fully understand.
Let's talk about it.
Let's go through him because he's the only realistic person we've heard about who is available right now, assuming he doesn't renew with Boca Juniors.
Yeah. So
which doesn't look likely based off the rumors we're hearing.
Yeah, and there's been rumors, some saying that he has been offered a contract, and some saying that he's not offered or declined.
I've seen that he's been offered, and also that he's declined that contract. But those are two separate things. I've seen that.
But I think if you put those together, we talk about putting rumors together, to find out one thing that he probably has been offered, at least a deal.
I do wonder.
So he's won a lot as a manager. He's won a Copa Sudamericana at Lanús in 2013. And then he won 2 Primera. I'm trying to roll my R's here. Divisions.
Primera.
Which is basically like they have 2 leagues. They have like 2 seasons in Argentina.
They used
to like the Apertura and Closer. Oh yeah.
Now it's one.
Yeah. But this was back when they had Primera. Yeah. So he won 2 of those. So, but it should be said that at Boca you have like far more resources than any other Argentine club. They're like probably the only club that is operating at a level where they can like pay all their they can basically they're not forced to sell anyone.
Well,
pretty much like every other club every other club in Argentina is forced to sell some of their players to help fund the club essentially. And they're one of the few that's not, and they can actually buy players. They brought Carlos Tevez back, and he's coming off the bench for them. So this team has a lot of talent. I kind of compared it earlier tonight in our writers' room to it's like managing Ajax and saying you're winning the Eredivisie at Ajax, and it's like you won, that's great. You're adding trophies, but like
big fish in a small pond type thing.
Yeah, it's like you have more resources. So it just depends on, are you a rings guy? If you're a rings guy, then you probably want Guillermo Barros-Schelotto, but
rings.
Like like Jordan. Jordan's got the rings.
I'm like, rings, huh?
Like Jordan, LeBron. Jordan's the best.
Look at it from his perspective. Why would you look? Tata understood.
Kobe.
Tata understood. Tata didn't have a job.
Triggering me.
Tata didn't have a job and called Atlanta and said, "Yo, what up?"
Direct quote.
Did not have rings either, by the way.
Schelotto, like, why would you want to leave Boca? I'm not saying.
I don't think it's super cushy there for him right now. Okay. I don't think the fans like him that much.
He's lost 2 finals to River.
No, I knew that. I knew that much. Yeah. But
And they're in sixth right now in Premier.
I know. I get what you.
As a player that played for the team, that wore the jersey, now coaching, has lost to. You got to think that there's that sense of, I got to get one as a coach. I got to do this for the people.
But he's gotten. I mean, he's won.
Did you see the press conference after they lost the Copa Libertadores? That's the only word I have trouble with. Libertadores.
It's a good one, yeah.
He looked distraught. Someone had the gall to ask him about his future, and he's like, "No, I'm just more than anything, I'm feeling super sad because I couldn't bring this back to the people of Boca." But I can't imagine. I don't know people's mindset. Like I also didn't think Tata would leave for Mexico, which.
Listen, I think Schelotto is a pretty safe hire. Yeah. I think that it's like, but I don't think
I want to say that that's the hire that we've got him sort of in our back pocket.
Yeah.
Let's go search other people. Let's go, research and interview some other candidates. Let's see what else is out there. Not that Schelotto's a bad pick, but if we kind of know we have him in the bag, let's.
So because
I think he's technically signed until the end of the year.
Yeah,
so he can't make a decision. He can't make a decision. December. Well, he can't really say anything until the end of the year.
The thing is, when you're going after managers in January, which is, I mean, Lopetegui is available.
Yeah.
Gabriel
Hines.
Jason Kreis.
Gabriel Hines could. Yeah, that's true.
Jason Kreis is still out there.
Jason Kreis.
Maybe 11th hour dig at Caleb Porter.
For those who don't know, Gabriel Hines, he's currently the manager of Velez, and from all the Peter Coates, Golazo Argentino on Twitter, really praises his style. He just said he's a young manager, but he's a manager on the rise. If the name sounds familiar, it's because he played at Manchester United, Real Madrid, a bunch of those big clubs.
Yeah, he's a legend.
So he's a European legend. So he's got connections over there. I think he would be a name that would actually players of all kinds.
He's a legend.
To come play for.
Yeah,
I sort of worry about.
He doesn't have the resume in terms of he's only like what 42 or something.
He's 40.
Like that.
Yeah.
So he's very young.
Is this his first coaching job, Velez?
I think it's his
he had a couple smaller teams.
I worry about the legend players becoming coaches, and then that translating to success as a manager.
But this is one, and I think that Peter, who you talked about, is for me one of the people I look to when I want someone who knows about Premier, and he's been very complimentary of Heinze.
Yeah, he said that he has them playing great stuff on the pitch, and that's why I agree with your with that. So it's not all about the name.
Mainly, I get that from other sports, but I don't see a reason why it wouldn't translate to soccer. That's my only worry with big names. Now, I think that Tata, as big of a name as he was, he proved himself as a coach to the extent that he proved himself. Schelotto, I think, has basically done the same thing, and that had Atlanta United gone after Schelotto as soon as he kind of was done playing or hadn't established his coaching career, I would have had the same issue. Mm-hmm. But because he has been with Boca for a while now, he has coached them to a number of finals. I am less concerned about that him not panning out with Atlanta than I would a big player name.
Mm. I do like, you're right. It would be more of a risk to take Heinze. He's a little more unproven, although Schelotto's proven.
I'm not saying it wouldn't work. I'm just that's the worry that I have.
You would be able to. I mean, a name like that. I mean, PSG, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Marseille, Roma. Oh, he actually played. I forgot this. Yeah, he was with Newell's Old Boys. To bookending his career.
Came up at Newell's.
Yeah, so maybe Tata could put in a good word, but that's a name that people would see in South America and say, "Yeah, this dude can get me to Europe because he did the same thing, and he played for these huge clubs and is one of the best Argentinian defenders of all time." At the same time,
that's the part that.
But at the same time, Eric, that's
the part that would worry me.
We have seen that. I mean, look at what's happening with Thierry Henry at Monaco right now. So that would be a bit more of a risk. it's going to be interesting. I mean, this month is going to be this whole off season is going to be fascinating.
Another option that's interesting is another Gabriel, which is Gabriel Milito. Played for Barcelona. He's an Independiente legend, and he was at Independiente when Barco came up into the first team there. So they would have a relationship for sure, and maybe that could prove a fruitful, like literally financial relationship by if he could get Barco back on track and have his value appreciate a bit. That could be another option.
Yeah. It's kind of a waiting game at this point. We'll see what happens. When does Tata Martino? When is he done with the club? Is it the end of the year?
I mean, no, his contract expired December 8th. Because I remember,
I want to say
Mexico saying they're going to announce him December 8th.
He's no longer a part of Atlanta United.
I imagine he's
so at the pep rally. He was not an Atlanta United coach.
Come on, Eric.
What's going on?
I'm just being technical.
An interesting thing about Milito as well is that he's at O'Higgins right now, which is a real big club in Chile. And one thing I'm really interested to see is if Atlanta United can open up not just to Argentina, but kind of get all of South America. And if you can get a manager like that, that could definitely open up the doors in places like Chile, and certainly that would be big, because it's been pretty much out of Argentina. Which, look, if you have Argentina on lock, arguably the top league, them in Brazil and South America. But I'm really intrigued to see, because Miguel Almiron came because of Paraguay's connection with Tata Martino. I'm really interested to see if this next manager can kind of open up the rest of the continent and maybe start to go get players from the Colo-Colo, or look even to Brazil and get from the Palmeiras or Corinthians or something like that. So that's something I'm interested to see if the next manager can unlock other parts of that continent in ways that maybe Tata Martino couldn't, because he was more known well in Paraguay and Argentina, not so much in Chile or Ecuador, Peru, or what have you. And there are lots of young, talented players in those countries as well.
I think when it comes to unlocking a lot of the other specifically Brazil, I want to say is going to be players like Miguel Almiron who go overseas.
Absolutely,
they need to perform well. Once younger players from those clubs, especially in Brazil, can see that kind of success and see that, like, oh, I can move to Atlanta and then get a big move. I think that's when
wouldn't you just love to see Carlos's travel book? I just want to see his credit.
Guys, Arsene Wenger is out there.
Shut up.
Arsene Wenger is out there.
Did you guys go to the parade? Speaking of the parade,
I watched on TV.
Like a loser.
Yeah.
Did you go?
Yeah, I didn't go.
No.
I was catching up on sleep. The morning after the game, or the night of the game, I went to bed at 7:30 in the morning, and then got up at 9:30 for the trade window, which we didn't do anything in. And there was like
this is Joe's life.
I was like,
by the way, if you have a job opening, Joe is looking.
I'm looking actively.
Is a
on the
extensive writing resume.
No kidding.
Profile.
I'll stay all the way up till 7:30.
Yeah.
Mostly perusing Twitter, but I'll get it done. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like at noon the next day, nothing was happening on the half-day trade window, and like all these journalists were like, "I got up early for it's like a trade window that starts at 10 a.m. It's like, it's not that early, but you're just degenerates.
I feel like every year it's always the biggest deal is being made of this half-day trade window, and then the what's the thing that follows it?
Well, the expansion draft. I love that, because why do they act like it's like a draft where they're like, we'll see what the next pick is. It's like you could turn in a list. There's nobody else. There's no clock.
They could just do it on a press release. It could just be an email that goes out there. These are the players that were.
I forget where I heard it, but it's almost like this could be done. This entire thing could be done on a Slack chat or a conference call. Like it's not that. And then
the big bombshell was when the manager announced the Garza trade right there. And it was.
I did love Sam Franco's tweet regarding the info release, how you don't want to pick a fight with Darren Eales. You don't want to make Darren Eales an enemy, because he knows how to mess you up. That
was pretty Bush League. I mean, to announce the trade before the team had a chance to speak with Garza. Basically, they just said, can we expect more player movement? It was kind of a throwaway question. And you say, oh, yeah, we're working on stuff, And instead he just goes, well, I think I could say this.
Yeah, we traded for Greg. No, yeah, he was.
I'm pretty sure I can announce we've traded for Greg Garza. And
oh man, he's not gonna do that. He's not gonna make that mistake again.
We're gonna see what happens with Cincinnati. Just a quick aside, but they've made some weird mistakes with like just weird errors early on that makes you wonder if they're going to have a Minnesota United type expansion season. Just a little aside. We'll see what happens. But that's one of them.
Yeah.
That's one of them that you don't understand the etiquette of announcing a trade. You know, I mean, that kind of looks like you're flying by the seat of your pants a little bit.
All right. You didn't go to the parade. You didn't go to parade. I did go to the parade.
Yeah, Eric did.
I did go to the parade. I was. It wasn't so much a parade, but as soon as the bus with all the players
it was a party
came by, everyone just jumped the fence, and police officers didn't care. Whoever the authority there didn't care. We could have honestly have just moved all the fencing for whatever company put it there.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic atmosphere. I don't know who mentioned 200,000 people. It wasn't 200,000.
I heard it was.
I don't know where the hell that number came from.
200 million, I heard.
It wasn't 100,000. It wasn't 70,000. It was a solid 10,000 people. When it was all said and done, the march plus the pep rally at the end, it was a strong 10,000 people that showed up. And I think that, considering the weather, considering short notice, considering Monday morning, I thought it was a fantastic showing.
The weather was brutal. And by the way, the reason that they had to do it on Monday is because all these players were flying out for their vacations like that.
They have to be back in like a month.
Yeah,
oh, really?
I saw them on Instagram flying out that later that day.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Well, what a great way to go out with 200,000 people cheering you on at the parade.
It was not. I saw that number somewhere. I heard that number, and I just,
you know where you heard it.
It was not true. From what I understand, if you
watch,
awesome. If you watch, no, and I don't want to take anything away from the event because it was awesome for the people. And honestly, I don't care how many people showed up. The people that did go had a fantastic time. They celebrated. They got to see their team, their head coach, their manager one more time. They got to be in that environment before radio silence for the next 2 months. They got to be in that atmosphere, that friendship, that camaraderie, one last time before the off season, before players started leaving, before whatever news happens to break over the next 2 months. People got to be there with their team celebrating the cup one last time. That's what mattered.
Well, all but one.
All but one. Mr. Andrew Carlton.
Okay, so should we talk about that?
What happened to Andrew Carlton? Wasn't at MLS Cup.
Mr. Proper Journal
wasn't
over
at
here.
MLS Cup. Wasn't at the parade. Wasn't in the celebration after MLS Cup.
This is
what happened?
This is a big story.
By who?
Curfew, man. He showed up.
I'm convinced.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, it was discipline for him.
Those that don't know, it looks like a social media. Some stuff on social media came out that he was basically partying the night before MLS Cup.
Although
it's negative, but we got to talk about it because it's
Atlanta
United news.
And the team announced that he was suspended for disciplinary reasons, right? So we can talk about it.
It's not a surprise.
Or whatever.
I don't know. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
I was really kind of frustrated at the way people were wanting to treat him with kid gloves about this when a lot of those same people were just pummeling Barco. Mm-hmm. And I get that they're different things, right? They were different indiscretions.
I think the lesson is the same though.
I think it is too. And I think it's the takeaway is that they're kids. And I think Barco, when he's bought for $15 million, suddenly he's not a kid anymore. Suddenly he's like this different person, this $15 million player, and everything changes overnight because of this transaction that happened. But he's the same kid. In fact, it's probably more pressure at that point for him.
New country,
well, pressure for sure. But I just mean there's a more like I don't know how to say it.
You talk about people treating athletes like robots, and not people.
Yeah.
There's definitely a correlation where if guys making more money, you kind of to be this not a person to just focus on winning and because of Barco's expectations, I think is one of the reasons you see this kind of double standard with him and Carlton, the way people reacted.
And I get why. Let's be real. The reason is because Carlton is from Atlanta and people kind of know him. He's a happy-go-lucky guy, and they have heard him say some funny stuff after games or whatever, he seems relatable to them. And that's another thing. But yeah, and Barco's not. Barco is this guy that you can't understand, but you just know he's doing, bad things or whatever. So anyway, my point is not we need to bash Carlton like we bash Barco. To me, we should be more understanding to both of them and like kind of realize the situation that they're in.
This kid made a mistake. It was a really stupid mistake. It's not like a it's a life-changing mistake in the sense that he's likely going to learn a hard lesson from this.
I hope he does.
But
I mean, we have to hope.
Didn't you think? I mean, they didn't. Okay, they didn't let him come to the game, but there's no way someone said you can't come to the parade.
Sure,
I mean,
he wasn't there.
Do you really think they said you can't even come to the parade?
Parents could.
I mean, to me, that was maybe him not learning his lesson and saying, whatever, they're not going to let me, participate in the celebrations. I'm not coming to the parade. Because I'd just be surprised if they said, no, don't come to this either.
We don't know the details. And let's be real. Let's be real. For those that hadn't heard about this, there has been like an underlined theory that maybe the reason Carlton hasn't been getting as much playing time, and this is just a theory. We have no. I don't think Joe, you have anything on this either. There's a notion that maybe he wasn't mature enough to be getting regular playing minutes. That there wasn't a sense of that this was a professional job for Carlton. Maybe that's a bad way to phrase it, but the level of maturity wasn't necessarily there for Carlton. It wasn't the same with Bello. You saw much more maturity out of Bello. Barco, after the incident, you saw a lot more maturity out of him. There has been this sort of underlying tone, from what I recall, throughout the season of, because I mean, we begged for why Carlton wasn't playing. We wanted a little more answers as to why Carlton wasn't playing.
Mm-hmm.
There was that underlying, and again, no actual reporting or sourcing or any actual information other than whispers that maybe that had been an issue. Maybe they just kind of was the icing on the cake for Atlanta United. Well, that's a bad way to phrase it too, but for Atlanta United, and they were just like, no, we need to teach him the biggest of lessons.
It does indicate that this has been a problem before, because I don't think that's an issue that pops up out of nowhere and you tell him to stay home.
For someone who hasn't been, because look, Barco, his circumstances
not the first. This is not his first time.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to just openly say it.
Well, hold on.
Because look, Barco comes from a different set of circumstances. He was the man at his previous club. He comes to Atlanta United on a big transfer fee. He is, for like a month, the man or a man at Atlanta United. He's been in that professional setting. He's been someone that has been counted upon by his adult teammates. Carlton hasn't had that same experience.
I think it's more than that, though, Eric. I think it's also that he's in his hometown. He's seeing money. He's not. The salary numbers out. He's not making crazy money, but for a 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old to be making that type of money, he's famous to a level that far exceeds his playing time or how much he contributes to the team, because he's a local guy.
He's a cult legend.
And like all 18-year-olds, he likes to have a good time. So he's under way more of a microscope than anybody of his age playing the little amount that he has would never be under the microscope the way he is if they're not in their hometown and he's inside his bubble. So I think it's a very, very tough situation for him to be in.
I think we should go into it even deeper in that, and kind of analyze his life situation that he's had. He's a homeschool kid. Mm-hmm. He hasn't had probably the kind of normal socialization that, we may have had growing up. Where, first of all, not only were we not, we went to a school where we got a lot of socialization, but we also just didn't have the pressures and the time.
Well, we weren't special. He's special. Right, we weren't special. We were told we were special.
We didn't have that kind of talent.
I was told I was special, but I wasn't. Andrew Carlton was actually special. It was actually special.
Yeah. So, so yeah, you can imagine how it would be when you come from I'm going to keep going back to the homeschool environment.
Sure.
I do think it's a real thing.
Powder Springs, right?
Yeah.
So well outside the city as well.
I just think it's a very difficult way. I can imagine it'd be a difficult way to kind of grow up and
it's
get
a little
tough.
It's a little tough to watch. And sorry. Go
ahead. When you all of a sudden you're making, what is he making? 70 grand, something like that.
I think it was 80.
I think it's 70 grand, like that, and you probably don't even have that many living expenses at the time. So now you have money.
Please, his parents are probably getting all that money.
Your salary is publicly on the internet through the
he's
MLS
18
players,
now.
Through the MLS players, whatever they call it. And now you got guys coming up to you saying, "Hey,
Let's party.
Yeah.
Essentially, let's party.
Let's do a music video. Let's
what was the social media stuff? Because I never saw it.
There was some really sketchy. There was one of him.
Or should we put it out there?
Yeah, it was public. I mean, it was out there, and he later said his account was hacked, but it was like like a first-person view of a car, like driving, going what looked to be pretty fast, and there was like you could see a cup, I think it was just like a Solo cup, and it was like a dark liquid in there. It was bizarre, and it was what the moment, and then he came out and he deleted it and said he was hacked. But that is sketchy. Like that's sketchy. And I don't know anything about that incident I don't know anything other than that I saw it. And if that's Andrew's hand holding the cup, driving that car, then that is the sign of immaturity. But I mean, the night before MLS Cup, it wasn't the night before MLS Cup, right?
No, not that.
That was previously.
But the thing is, everybody would believe, okay, you did get hacked if you weren't constantly posting, not constantly, but if you weren't putting stuff on social media, you partying already.
Yeah.
I mean, and so, but I mean, like you said, he's a kid, and it's gotta be tough. You're not playing, you're not getting the playing time you want, but people know who you are, and like you said, Joe, that I'm imagining, people see an Andrew Carlton walking around, and they want to kind of hang out, especially younger folk, because they want to kind of hang out with them, and so to me. Go ahead.
I was going to say, he's a sweet kid. Like, I've talked to him. I love talking to him when we get chances to after games.
So for me, I think it might be best because I agree. I think he seems like a good kid. He's got a lot of potential. You've never heard anything about his work ethic or anything like that. He might be better off with a change of scenery.
I agree.
I mean, and I think it'd be better for him, or it might be better for Atlanta United. It's become kind of a distraction because he's not a big part of the squad, and yet he's always a story. And in this case, it's for the wrong reasons.
I'll give you an example. I think that part of the reason is that everything. I'm not going to say that he hasn't earned his spot with Atlanta United based off his talent, based on the work he's put in. But from the outside looking in, it looks like it's been given to him. Before he was with Atlanta United, he was.
Well, he's a name people have known.
Right. He's a name people have known. He's a name that was associated with Atlanta United. I want to point to a different person that played alongside, I think at one point, with Georgia United, alongside Andrew Carlton. That's Juan Pablo Torres, who has given everything to soccer. I know him personally, so I know a little insight as to how he's kind of lived his life. He's not the party guy. He is one of those guys that since basically he became a teenager, his body was a temple. It was an athletic machine. So everything that went into his body was he's not drinking. It's just water. Everything is for the good of the potential career he wants to have. He's playing in the Belgium top flight division,
the Pro League.
Yeah, which is great. But again,
Lokeren.
It's okay, good.
And the reason I bring it up is because that's a completely different experience to what Andrew Carlton has had and has been given at a bigger club, at a more. Just think of the atmospheres and the novelty of playing with Atlanta United versus Juan Pablo, who is with Lokeren in Belgium, earning his spot. Again, when he went over to Europe, he went on kind of a prayer. He was going to try out for teams and made this team with Lokeren and has gotten a couple. I don't know. I don't want to say exactly how much. He's been in a few games, 2 appearances, a handful of minutes, but he's earning his spot. And Juan Pablo's a kid that could have easily been alongside George Bella. Alongside George Bella, alongside Andrew Carlton, alongside Chris Gosselin. He played with these guys. He plays with them on the international scene.
And I think that when you put yourself in those situations, it can really it focuses you on what your actual goals are, because there's nothing. We talk about distractions, kind of hard to really explain what those are tangibly, but like think about if you went and put yourself in a situation where you didn't know the language, going out wasn't really that fun because you didn't really know, there wasn't anybody to go out with, or you might have like one friend who's there with you to kind of help you navigate life, but like other than that, all your the thing you have to put your energy, your mental energy, your physical energy into is soccer, and I think that's what Andrew Carleton needs to get to.
But I think the biggest part when you compare him to the other academy guys, I don't think you can really compare, except for Bello. Andrew Carleton was famous when he was 15, 16 years old. Those other kids weren't. I mean, they were good players. Even Goslin wasn't. Lagos wasn't. They were known around the local areas. But Andrew Carleton was a household name. I mean, if you knew young U.S. players nationwide, and certainly if you're within soccer circles in Atlanta, you knew him at 16. So it's tough to grow up when you don't really get a childhood, in that sense. I mean, I know that's a cold way to look at it, but when you are that well known at age 16, it's hard to get your head down and focus on the things you should be doing at that age and realize, I need to learn to be a professional when people are already treating you like you're one and you aren't yet.
My counter is that this is pretty commonplace across the world that you're put in a position where you have to grow up pretty quickly because you are a big academy product.
Oh, I totally agree.
Whatever team you're looking to get to, it's no different for Andrew. I think the only difference is that it was an expectation versus something I'm not going to say he didn't earn it, because I think that he has played well enough with Georgia United, played well enough to garner the attention of Atlanta United, but none of the other players got the treatment that Andrew Carleton got. Mm-hmm. None of the other players got a mini documentary made of him as he's getting signed.
Arthur Blank
and the Arthur Blank bus. Yeah, I mean, no one else got that.
And I think that's hard for him because
I agree.
I'm not saying it's easy, but that is part of the territory of becoming a professional soccer player. This all starts at as young as Carleton was. This all starts then.
You're totally right, but the way on the one side for Andrew Carleton, so for every other young player on the Atlanta United roster, it's young player with potential, big fans of all of them. The Andrew Carleton, you have, and it's understood they're not playing a lot with all the other young guys. Andrew Carleton, you have half of the fans, soccer circles. You're a big story among them. Why is Carleton not playing? People who adore him because he's a local boy. But on the other side, you go to training and you're being basically told, look, you're not in our 18. You're not as good. So you're getting it's got to be tough to spend all your time away from training being continually told what you've been being told, that you're the next best thing since sliced bread, and then you go into a training session and you're behind 2 or 3 guys at your spots.
Let's be real though. It's not like he was lining up with the twos.
And that's
you think that might humble him a little bit.
And Joe brought that up the other when we were talking about this the other night. I thought it was a really good point. I think that was he did kind of underwhelm with the twos. He didn't. And he improved as the year went on, but
it was the work rate for me that he seemed like the ball needed to come to him, and that he wasn't out there. He didn't need to. It wasn't his job to kind of go stamp his authority on the game.
And that's the last thing. If you're trying to make your stamp on the game, that's the opposite of what you should be doing.
I think that you're gonna find out what Atlanta United thinks of Andrew Carleton, of this incident. Should they move him? It's clear to most of us that Atlanta United is done with that. Mm-hmm. That either the
if they sell him, that would be why. This is best for both parties.
Antics, the maturity,
and also maybe even just saying, look, we like you. This is going to be best for you.
Yeah. Because that might be the ultimate lesson for Carleton. The fact that that it was so what he was doing was so detrimental to the club that he needed to be removed from that setting. That might be the biggest kick in the butt that he might need if that is in fact the issue. Move to another club, you get a second chance, and then we'll see from there.
And it's look, I don't want this even to come off as a criticism of him, because he's an 18-year-old kid, and if that was going on with me at 18, I'd be doing the same thing. The exact same thing.
I'd be in trouble too.
I've made my mistakes in life. 100%.
So I mean, really, I think it's about
honestly think of how you acted at college and that being on social media.
Yeah.
All the stupid stuff that you did, all the stuff that in the same setting you get in trouble for. I mean, we all did it. He just unfortunately has
famous. And
he's famous, and he's got to deal with a club that doesn't tolerate that.
I'm kind of at the stage with him where I hate to say this, but I'm kind of at the stage with him where I'm at with Miguel Almiron, where I would rather him go, because I think it'll be better for him. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather just wish him success.
What I would hope to see is that one of these clubs that was coming after him when he was younger. I think with Manchester United was rumored. I forget what other teams might have been rumored along for him. Come calling again saying, hey, we'll take this project off of you.
Maybe loan him out and
something. Yeah. What I don't want to see him is him go to another MLS club. And that's not. I don't want to
be the most
realistic. It may.
What I hope comes out of this, and this is me kind of talking from a journalist perspective. I hope the club doesn't react to this by like reassessing how they make these younger players available to the media and maybe like closing them off from media a little bit, because I think that this is part of the growing process. And even though he's made a mistake here, it's not like he can't. It's not like this is the end of his career. He's not going to bounce back from this. He can bounce back. But I really think, and this is something that is always kind of, I'm not going to finish that thought. But for Atlanta United 2,
holding Eric there.
For Atlanta United 2, these players, this is a professional club. And part of the deal being a professional is dealing with media and having that exposure and having to kind of deal with that side of it. It's not an academy. It's not, it is filled with academy talent, and you want it to, you want to keep that pipeline going. But like part of the development part of being in Atlanta United 2, part of that development is learning how to deal with the other things that come with being a professional soccer player, not just on the field playing against better players, but media responsibility and how to hold yourself accountable and those kinds of things. I'm always interested whenever I talk to anybody, any of the players who come through, to kind of like ask them about that side of it, like what it's taught them. And to be honest, most of them don't say much. But I just really hope the club doesn't kind of like see this and be like, oh yeah, like he probably had too much publicity. Let's pull that back. And to be honest, maybe Andrew Carlton probably did have too much publicity at the beginning. Like maybe they did for him, like we talked about with Arthur Blank, man.
Yeah. You had the big signing with him,
So because he was one of the big names that Atlanta United kind of touted out as we've signed a player.
Right.
That was when they still wanted to,
Tito, McCann, and Carlton.
Wasn't he part of the
jersey
kid unveiling?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like he was like one of the 3 players they had. So
because he was in the academy, right? Because the academy started before he played with the academy team before he signed a pro deal. And I could be wrong about that. He might have played 1 year.
There was definitely an academy going.
But he was the only guy that playing in those games where everyone was like, let's go watch Andrew Carlton. And because no one else had been signed to the team, there weren't other names, he became a big name, and now people are wondering, why is he not playing? So we'll see. I agree with Joe. I think change of scenery might be best. But he wasn't at Magic City either, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's end on a different note. Magic City. That trophy is forever unclean. If you haven't,
voice.
If you haven't seen, Jacoby and what's his face,
Jalen
Jacoby.
ESPN
go look for the Atlanta United thing where they did. They made a quite a bit of funny comments about that.
Did you guys?
The cup went to Magic City. Got some special treatment from the ladies of the night. And now that cup is forever unclean. Does Atlanta United keep that cup, or is that the same one that's used?
I think they keep it. They're
come on. Magic City is the top.
Look,
top.
It's
clean as it comes.
It's an establishment. It's a Atlanta legend. It's it's
one of the classy joints.
Sure.
I'm sure the trophy's plenty clean. They keep it clean.
Sure. I'm just glad that the trophy got its own lap dance.
I'm sure the club cannot be happy about this. I hope they're not too upset.
I hope they at least.
I don't think they're too upset.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I would say the least funny that like part of me was torn about seeing this video because it's like
you want to laugh at the same time people.
Well, to me, it's just like. Bro code, like
right. That's the one. That's the thing that I thought.
Ollie Shannon.
Who got this
grant? Yeah, I don't
know. Who?
The only thing I've seen was like the only thing I seen of it was like the 4 second.
I'm pretty sure it was Oliver Shannon's, who wasn't even he was on the twos, and I think already knew that they weren't gonna renew his option. But
so he didn't care.
I don't know. But it's not a big deal. I'd say this is only in Atlanta. Does a team take a trophy to a strip club It gets widely reported on, and it is a positive story.
It was.
100%. I haven't seen one person say, "How could they do that?" They're like, "Heck yeah, this is Atlanta. You take the trophy to Magic City, enjoy yourself." Only in Atlanta. Gotta love this city. Gotta love it.
Just make sure they think it's a good cleaning. Because you saw how close that booty was. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that is a photo.
MLS Cup got its own lap dance.
Who did we deduct?
They paid for a lap dance for an inanimate object.
Because Gressel said at stoppage time the other night that he wasn't that he had gone home. And I think I saw Jeff and Parky for sure.
I think I saw what looked like the back of Barco's head.
No,
really? Because he wasn't at
Barco was on. I'd seen him. I'd seen him on Instagram. Yeah, okay. He was flying back with Remedi.
I don't want to sour anyone's good name.
Yeah, there was a picture of them at Fido before they went, and it was Gressel, Parkers, Laurentowicz. I guess Shannon was in there. I can't remember if Garza. It was most of the English speakers. Brandon Vasquez was in there.
I really want to know how that how that conversation takes place. Like, you know this is gonna. Well, first of all, you should never take video at a strip club. Again, bro code. Number 1 at a strip club. Cell phones off.
It's got to be against the rules of the establishment.
I'm sure it is. But the publicity Magic City's getting, I'm sure they're not hating that.
Yeah, that's true.
Jalen Jacoby, the video they put out there, they blurred everything out except for the actual cup itself. They couldn't show anything other than the cup itself.
They had to show that one to HR before they put that on TV. Well, you know what that?
No, but I'm curious how that conversation goes down. What you said? Parker's.
It's very interesting though. So Parker's posted a photo at Fido. I can't believe we sound like such little fanboy children. Right? So he posted a photo when they were at Fido and said, "Hanging out with my new friend," and they had the cup. He said, "Where should we go next?" And then I wish I could shout this guy out. I can't remember.
Yeah, someone said Magic City.
Magic City. So you wonder if they were, going through some of the replies and said, "This is the one."
That sounds good.
And they made I think they made the right choice.
Do you think they knew what it was, or do you think
Magic City?
Yeah,
I'm sure one of them.
I'm sure
threw it in their
at
phone
least a few of them.
Yeah.
Well, so I was wondering if they just they probably
they were surprised.
They probably looked
like
it would be funny if they just type Magic City. Okay, let's go there. Just type it into the Uber and just see where it takes them. And then
I love magicians. Make a rabbit out of the hat. Oh no, this is something very different. No, but what a cool story. And like I said, the best part about it is that received positively everywhere. And I'm glad. I thought it was really, really cool.
I'm not gonna say it's cool.
Not everywody. I did. I saw individual people, not media. The media loved it, but I saw individuals.
This is the South
that were offended.
Gotcha.
Bible Belt.
Gotcha. Well, it's just amazing though. The media could criticize Tito for doing a machine gun celebration, but if you go to a strip club with a trophy, that's great.
Any other club in MLS that would have been frowned upon.
At least by some outlets.
But because it was Magic City and it's a staple of Atlanta.
And it's Atlanta. What else you got?
The fact that it takes that to get on ESPN or FS1 or whatever, that it takes that. I hope
they're breaking through though.
I hope that it gives a sense of coolness to not only Atlanta United. Who did you see was there? Parkhurst.
I don't know.
Laurentowicz.
This is the part I don't want to talk about.
Okay,
I don't want to because I haven't seen.
Forget it. Scratch both those names. I have no idea. So if anyone uses this against me in the court of law, know that I'm finishing this by saying I was just throwing those names out there. I don't know who was actually in attendance.
Well,
none of us do, as a matter of fact.
I confidently would. Okay.
Shut up, Josh. Shut up.
That's true. I don't get a press pass.
Yeah, he doesn't have a credential, so he can talk about as much as he wants.
I was pretty confident I saw Parker's in one of those photos. But Fido is all we know, and we know that Julian Gressel didn't go.
He said he had an alibi, and then he said, because I was at Fido, and then what? Because they were all at Fido.
I think he was just making a joke because they were like, heard you had some fun last night. He's like, I didn't go. I had an alibi with the fiance.
Okay.
So, anyways, we probably should. But so he didn't.
I'm thinking these guys knew what they were doing. They knew that they, in all likelihood, weren't going to get in trouble for this stuff. Well, they didn't assume that it was going to be video, I'm sure, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's not like
Oliver Shannon went out with a bang.
It's not like we're going to hear a bunch of drama with the wives or something like that, or the wife.
Right. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they had a good time, and they deserved to party, all the hard work, and so gotta love Atlanta, man. Gotta love it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we got to cover before? I know this podcast has been rather long, but there was so much to cover that we just had to do it. Anything else that we need to at least mention before we get out of here?
I mean, Twitter handles.
Before we do that, patreon.com.
Yes.
The Mouths of the South are trying to get to Costa Rica for CCL. That is February 20th, I believe.
Costa Rica.
So we obviously need some help because Joe doesn't have a job. He can't help us at all.
I have a job, but I can't.
Worthless.
You coach soccer,
Please,
so it's going to be tough to.
I'll do part-time work.
So we've obviously had this Patreon account for quite a while. So we ask that if you can donate, if you're willing to donate, you love us enough to donate, please donate whatever you can, no matter how much you can, whether it's $1, I think that's the lowest you can give, or $500, whatever you feel comfortable giving. We try to give it back to you. We're trying, basically, if we know that we're going to go, we're going to try to set up a show from down there. We're going to try to basically pay it back the best way we can, however we can.
And we'll pay it back. If it's not there, we'll pay it back regardless.
Yeah, we'll find a way. We're doing I know this off season we're going to do a lot of experimental stuff. I know that I've got some stuff that I'm looking to do. I know that Josh has some stuff that he's looking to play with. So we're going to try some experimental stuff to keep the content going. I have no doubt that there will be no shortage of potential content.
We'll be here every week.
Yeah, so this is going to continue. The radio show is going to continue on the SportsX. If we do get some live shows from different restaurants, I'm sure those will continue as well. And we'd love your support on all that. So if you want to donate to the podcast, donate to the cause, patreon.com/MOTS podcast. That's where you can do that. We had a couple of entries yesterday. I want to give a shout out to Jay Varner and Jordan Bertram. You guys are thebomb.com. Those are big money donors right there. So we'd appreciate it if you can. If not, no hard feelings. We love you just the same.
Well, a little bit less, but we still love you.
Yeah.
Just a little less.
If we get to Costa Rica without you,
Eric will kiss you. I won't.
Just know that we did it without you.
You want kisses from both of us.
I'm just kidding. Anyways, you can find me at Eric G. Quintana. You can find the podcast at MOTS Podcast. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. Hit the bell so that you get notified. We want to get to 100 before next week. We're at 79 now, so get on it. Joe, where can they find you?
You can find me at JAPatrick200 on Twitter, but I would rather you not follow me and click a new tab and follow or subscribe to the Dirty South Soccer YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah, do that. I was like, where are you going with this?
Subscribe to that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, MOTS Podcast. Dirty South, both of them. Subscribe to the Dirty South one. But both. If you want to watch us live on YouTube, you can get notifications that way. It's
MOTS first, though.
MOTS
first.
Then right. Subscribe and feel the vibe.
If you just put Mouths of the South podcast into the search
bar, click the bell. 5 stripes of hell.
Click the bell. Wow, good rhyming. You've been hanging out with Sam Jones. You can find me at JoshB914. Always remember, Chris Armas blew it.
I also want to give big thanks, big shout out, big appreciation message out to you, all the supporters groups. I think you guys did a fantastic job the entire year. I think everyone that showed up to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, all 900,000. Is that it? That was the final 900.
That was the parade. Was 900,000.
No, okay, shut up. All 900,000, or whatever the total number for the year was. You guys, there's no other fan base I'd want to do this podcast for. You guys are awesome. And big shout out to Tata Martino, who obviously has left us for another team. Sorry.
Shout out to Tata Martino.
Shout out to the team. Shout out to everyone in the front office. Specifically the communications team who gives us the access that we get. Chris Winkler, Elena, who else am I missing?
Chris Raimondi, Justin Velhuis, Johannes. I don't know Johannes' last name. I just know him by Johannes, but today was his last day, which is pretty sad.
Last day for Johannes. Anyways, big thanks to the club. Big thanks to everyone. I mean, everyone involved with making Atlanta United what it is today. I'm
always blown away by the support. I mean, in the community. I mean, just the fact that Joe's trip got funded to go cover the Red Bulls match, and
that was awesome.
I was almost like, this is a joke. Like, are you kidding me? This is and it worked. That's how together. I mean, that's how genuine the community is. So thank you all. I mean, it's crazy that you listen to us. You don't have the best taste in podcasts, I guess, but if you keep listening, that would be great. And yeah, I mean, it's just amazing.
We need a code word for anyone who listens to the podcast that's still listening to, like, you know, tweet at us like a code word to like signal that they listened all the way to this point.
Oh, wow.
The code word is, oh, you know what? Just send me the what did I use for the Silverbacks thing? Send me the squid emoji.
What?
Squid emoji.
Squid emoji?
Squid. There's a squid emoji on your phone, I think.
Okay. What about people on the computer?
Just text,
come up with something cooler.
Just tweet us banana. I don't know. What do you want?
Well, just not an emoji. I mean,
if you're gonna criticize, come up with your own thing, man.
A heart emoji, okay? A heart emoji, not some crazy.
A heart emoji.
What did you say? A squid emoji?
A squid. You remember that? The Silverbacks, whenever they gave us crap, we would just respond back. It became a thing for a little bit. We respond back with a bunch of squids, and we would send it to
okay, squid emoji it is.
Squid emoji. See?
Squid. Ha! I'll accept a heart too if you can't find the squid emoji on your phone.
Squid or heart.
Squid or heart. Yeah,
exactly. Squid.
Because we love you.
Hashtag
and
Team
something
Squid.
About a squid that doesn't fit.
More squids. You know what? Let's do a competition. Who you know, if you like Josh Moore and you want to say that you listen and you want to let us know that you're listening up to this point, send us a heart. And if you like me more, send me a squid.
It sounds like an infomercial now.
Send me a squid.
Half off your next order.
Send me a squid.
Send a squid to this Twitter.
Send me a squid.
Boy.
All right,
it was fun, guys.
Anything else before we wrap it up? Thanks, Joe, for coming out. We'll see you next week, and until next time, see you later, Atlanta. Bye, everybody. Oh my gosh, we went
under 2 hours.
Basically 2 hours.